Hello there, this is Carlo and welcome to another After Effects tutorial stroke 3ds Max. This is going to be based again on two tutorials I've done in the past about adding objects into into After Effects. But what we're going to try and do now is we're going to add multiple objects from 3ds Max into After Effects using the same sort of techniques as I used before. But this time what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and animate. Now the task here is to animate this helicopter, so its propellers are moving and it's got some sort of movement, and put it into this scene here, a couple of them, to make it look like they're actually flying off into the sort of distance. So this is the task. I've not actually done this before, so I'm just going to be working basically off the top of my head. I will have to pause the video a couple of times because obviously whatever I animate has to be rendered, so we're going to be trying to do it the best we can and making it look as good as possible. Okay, so first things first, we need to animate this helicopter, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with the propellers here. But first of all, I want to select my whole object like so, and I just want to push it back a bit to about there. Maybe sort of move it over to about here. Okay, so that's good. Now the purpose of this is obviously I want this helicopter to sort of come forward and come sort of like at this distance off the screen. So before we actually do this, what I like to do is sort of test out the movements first. So obviously I want to sort of bring the helicopter sort of like that, but then maybe have some sort of a spin on the actual chopper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it into position to about there, so when we actually animate and move it, it's not deadly straight, as you can see. So when the propellers are actually going, it's going to actually look okay. So I'm going to put it about there, and then I'm just going to select my propeller blades, which are added to the model separately. I will do a tutorial at some point on making a full helicopter, but obviously that's going to take a lot of time. That's a big old tutorial, but as you can see, when I sort of spin the propeller, it sort of moves, but I need to get it into a position where it's going to be straight no matter what. So as you can see, because of the way it is and the way it's angled, obviously we've got to get it to a position where it's going to be straight when it's spinning. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come out of there, we're going to highlight the whole rig, and then we're going to put it straight like so, and we're just going to straighten up our propeller to make sure it's flush with the actual model. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to try and spin it like that, but we need to get it obviously straight first. So when we do spin, there's going to be no bendiness, so that looks okay. Okay, so we're set for that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our animation, which is just going to be 100. Should we do 100? Let's live a bit. Let's do it for about 150. 150 frames should be fine, because helicopters actually move quite fast. So we're going to change our output to HD video, hit 720p, create our file name. I'm going to change it to movie. I'm going to stick it to my desktop, and I'm just going to call it Heli 1, like so, and just save it. So we've got all our render settings sort of saved, like so. When this comes, as I've shown you in previous videos, it'll open up another window like that. We're just going to click OK and come out of there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to our environment, obviously, and we're going to remember just to change our green screen background. So that's done. Okay, so now we can animate. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the keyframe and then auto key it, and then what I'm going to do is bring it right to the end, and I'm going to select my blade and I'm just going to spin it stupidly like that. Alright. Now hopefully when we come back our blade's spinning quite fast, as you can see, like that. But now we need to move it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the start, and then we're going to bring it to the end because we want 100 frames, and then we're going to select the whole rig, and then we're just going to bring it forward like that. So now hopefully it's moving straight like that. What we're going to do is we're going to come to about there, and then we're going to bring it straight to about there, which is fine. So that's fine. Now when I get to probably about here, what I want to do is I want to rotate the plane, sorry, the helicopter like that, just a touch, so you're not moving that. So we've got a bit of sort of, you know, uneven steadiness of the chopper, like so. So that looks fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to render that little bit out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on that. Sorry, I need to just check. Right, that's fine. Okay, so that's rendering now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the video while that's rendering, and then we're going to work on the second piece of animation, or the second scene, shall I say. So I'll pause it and I'll be back as soon as this finishes rendering. Okay, so that first scene excuse me, is completed. Just make sure I'm recording. Yep, I am. That first scene's completed. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you it. It's very brief, it's very quick. Let's play it. And that's basically all it is. Very, very quick. You know, obviously for the sake of this tutorial, it's going to be a short scene, but when you're doing your own bits and pieces, you can make it as long and as intense as you want. Okay, so we're going to come out of that and we're going to keep the settings default, same, and all we're going to do is basically move the chopper to a different position. Oh, do apologise about that. So let's put that back like that because we never selected it all. Okay, so let's select the whole thing. Okay, and let's grab our move tool and just sort of put it there, and I would say about there. Okay, so let's see what we get. Okay, so that's fine about there, because when we've matted the green screen over the top of it, we can actually play around with the green screen anyway, so that's absolutely fine. About there, that's absolutely cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to render this scene out, and I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay, so now I've opened up After Effects just now. I was going to do a second scene that I started rendering, but I thought I didn't really have to do that because I can use the one scene for both choppers. So basically that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're not going to actually render a second model for this. So all I'm going to do is just create a new composition and just keep it like that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import the footage I just created, which is on my desktop now, which is this one. And all I'm going to do is I'm basically going to drop it into my comp, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to render it out, right? So, which is absolutely fine. Now what I want to do is just go to the point where the chopper stops and before it flips back, so about there, and then I'm just going to shorten up my video like there, and then all I'm going to do is duplicate Control D, duplicate. So now I've got 1 and 2, and all I'm going to do is I want to call this chopper 2, or just select number 2, something for easy reference. And what I'm going to do is when I move it around, I've got 2 choppers, as you can probably see. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position it, go back, so the chopper's moving, and then I can get this layer, sort of move it, and then make it a bit smaller so it looks like it's in the distance. And make sure your green screen sort of, it doesn't really matter because your green screen is going to cover that, but I want it sort of in the distance to about there. So when I sort of move, it looks like there's two choppers sort of flying off like that. So that's absolutely fine like that. Okay, so now we're going to import our background so we can do some work to it. So it's here, and I'm just going to drop that below my two pictures. But first of all, I'm going to go right click, I'm going to go effects, key lights 1.2, I'm going to get my blobber and just hit that, and then I'm going to get my blobber again and just hit that. Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to select my two again, right click, effects, key lights, get my blobber, hit that. So now we've got two choppers that we can basically place where we want in the scene. So now I'm just going to make this the right size. So now when we move the video, we've got two choppers sort of flying with our background. Now obviously I've got to make sure my background fits, so we're just going to scale that down to size like so, and then we're just going to zoom in just to make sure everything looks okay, which looks fine, and then we're just going to render it out, and as you can see it looks like my choppers are basically flying in the scene. But now what we're going to do is going to do some work to this. Obviously that bit of animation there, as you can see, went a bit wrong, but that is all tweaking, so that's not a problem. Okay, so let's go back to the start of the scene like so. We can place this, if you select this image here, sorry, if you select your chopper, make sure we select the right one, we can place this sort of where we want in the scene, and we can just touch rotate it just slightly to get it into best position. We can select this one, sorry, number 2, and we can sort of play around with that to make sure that's in sort of like a decent position. And then all we're going to do is we're going to do some color correcting. So I'm going to go to sorry, effects, we're going to go to color correction, and then I'm going to go to my curves, and I'm just going to sort of match up my chopper with my scene the best way I sort of can. So let's just bring this up a little bit, bring this maybe down, just a bit of touch just there, and then what I'm going to do is I want to do the same effects, and I'm going to go to color correction, curves, and I'm just going to match sorry, I'll do effects, color correction, curves, and I'm just going to do the same to match it up. It should automatically, as soon as you select it, match it up with the previous one you did, but I'm just going to tone that down just slightly like so, and then I'm going to hit my naval base. I want to go to effects again, and I want to color correct my background. So I want to sort of bring that down just a touch, maybe just bring it a little bit up to give it, make it pop just a bit. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. Now what I want to do with my choppers, I want to add a bit of blur to my choppers, so when they move they look sort of a little bit blurry. But what we need to do is just quickly render that out. Obviously you can place your helicopters or your models anywhere in the scene you see fit. You know, if you had sort of like a background plane like the background I've got, you can make your own waters using a floor plan to make, you know, if the water's moving, then it look like the actual aircraft carrier is moving as well. So that doesn't look too bad actually. That's not a bad little effect for 2 seconds. Okay, so let's just bring this into about there, which is fine. just want to make this all appropriate. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our background and just add some lighting. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to layer, new, light, and I think we're going to correct a parallel light. Just make it a bit sort of white about there. Click OK. Okay, so that's fine, and then we're just going to play around with our lights just a bit. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to move that then. Just click undo on that light, undo, and then we're just going to click on our lights and just sort of put the light maybe sort of about there. Get our y-axis, bring it up. Let's just sort of bring it to about, I would say about there. Okay, that's cool. That looks alright. So at the moment it's looking pretty good, do you know what I mean? It's only taken 2 seconds to put this into the scene, but obviously the more realistic your models are, the more better it's going to get. It's going to sort of look. So what we're going to do is go layer, new, create another light, and then we're going to make this an ambient light, and I want it sort of like quite warm. So click that, click OK. And then we've got our ambient light set. Let's have a look at our ambient light features. And what we do is we just sort of play around with our ambient lights, bring that down to about 40. 39 will do, that's fine. That's looking nice. Background looks pretty cool. So sort of when we sort of render it out, it's not looking too bad, as you can see. Might have to just blur out or do a bit of fade on the edging of the helicopters, but that's something sort of you can play around with when you've completed your project. It's all sort of final touches. Now what we can do, if I close this, I can select my picture, make that a 3D image, as you can see, and what that's done is that's turned all my lighting on. But what I want to do is I just want to pull my picture back into 3D space as much as I can, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale my picture back up to fit my comp. And what that's done is that's just given us a little bit of depth in the scene. So that's my chopper. I'm selecting the wrong one. Nana. And what that's done, as you can see, it's just given it a hell of a lot more depth and made it look a lot more deeper in the scene. Can you see this looks really, really, really nice now? But what I can do is sort of make this sort of move if I wanted. But the scene looks so nice as it is. If we just play that back. Oh, wrong one. Sorry about that. As you can see, that does not look too bad at all. Yep, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. But you can sort of, you know, use this sort of technique with video footage in the background, anything you want basically. So yeah, I mean, this is how I sort of add my 3D animated models into After Effects and just give it a little bit of realism, just to basically finish the scene off. So that's not too bad. What I should have done is continue the animation so the choppers actually flew off the scene. But what I'm going to try and do now is I'm just going to scale this up to about there, and then I'm going to select that. So select my picture, hit P on my keyboard for position when this isn't at the start, sorry. So create my position there, and then I'm going to bring it back to my finish point, and then I'm just going to scale this down to about there, and that should be good. That's just giving it an element of 3D look, which looks absolutely amazing. Right, so that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Right, so yeah, there it is really. 3D helicopters. That's multiple objects placed using green screen, placed within After Effects to give you a nice looking visual effect really. And what you can do is, if you wanted more lighting, some serious lighting, you can go to your background, right click, effects, video co-pilot, optical. This is if you've got these packs, and you can add a bit of optical flare. So let's go to our options, let's find a nice optical flare look. Let's select that one, that'll look pretty awesome. Put that into our scene like that, and let's put it over our background and select from here over original. Let it render out, and then what I can do is just bring this into a sort of nice position here. Play around with our optical flare brightness. Let's turn it up a bit. Place it anywhere sort of on the scene you want, so you can place it outside the scene. Let's just bring this to scale this down, and then what I can do is open this up here, open the effects, open your optical flares, create a position, bring it all the way to the end. It's about there, and then I can sort of drag my flare straight across like that, which is giving me a keyframe, and now I've got some really cool lighting. So when I render it out, you've got some nice lighting once it's rendered over your very cool, as you can see it there as it's rendering. Some really nice lighting going over the top or behind the scene within your film. So yeah, that looks pretty awesome, pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll get this rendered out, I'm upload it to YouTube with audio as well, so you can basically see how it looks. But with this optical flare, we've given all this bit of water, a bit of lighting as well, which looks good. All these little tweaks that you do make a difference. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and stay tuned for more awesome tutorials on YouTube. So here we go, there it is. You can see a little bit of light, so it's going to take a bit of time to render that, but as you can see, it looks pretty cool. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.